morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you're having a lovely, lovely week. Today, we are going to be carrying on with our English learning for this week, and we're going to be planning our diary entries. So, I'm just going to share my screen so that we can see exactly what we are doing this week. Wonderful. So, what are we doing? We're going to be using linking adverbs and emotive language. So, linking to Thursday's lesson and Wednesday's lesson too. How? By retrieving old learning, and why? So we can plan our diary entry. Now, before we start, I have two things in front of me that you might need. First, I have got my plan. Now, this plan might be quite familiar because we did use a very similar plan as well when we did our first diary entry. Okay, I'm going to post this on the class story so you have access to it. Like I say every time, if you can't print it for whatever reason, you can just draw it out on paper. Okay, so if I post it on the class story, even if you can't print it, you can at least go and see it. And I'm going to be showing you the different bits of it. Okay, but you can just draw this out on an A4 piece of paper if you would like. Okay, and that's going to really help you next week when you come to do your writing. I've also got in front of me my flowchart that I used for my emotive language lesson. So on here, I've collected lots of emotive language, some adjectives, and also some show me, don't tell me phrases, okay, that I want to use for each event. Okay, so this is really going to help me as well today when I come to plan it all out. So let's get started then. Before we actually start doing our planning, we're just going to have a quick rewind just to get our brains working. And I want you to see if you can have a go at putting our events into chronological order. I'm not going to remind you what chronological order means. I think we know about now. Okay, so pause the video now. And can you have a go at putting our events in chronological order, in the order that they happen in the story? Fabulous. Right, hopefully you've had a go at that. We've got 6 events and we're going to pop them in order. I'm going to try not to make it all messy on my screen. So first then we had Asher and Jeevan deciding to run away. That kind of started our story off because it was kind of the start of their adventure, was when they first decided to run away. Next then, so we had them kind of getting to the train station, didn't we, first? Because they went on the train first after they got to the town. So we have them managing to sneak onto the train. It's going to be our second event. Now, when they reached Galapur, they had their first night out alone and they had to sleep under the pistachio tree. So that was our third event. Next, we had them kind of starting off on their adventure. So this was when we had Asher and Jeevan walking through the woods, and we had that event where Asher actually left Jeevan behind for a little bit. They had a little bit of a fallout, but then they got reunited. Next, then we had the event where Jeevan was in the forest and he actually encountered a tiger. And then finally, they reached the temple, and I think that's about where we're up to with our Asher and the Spirit Bird story. Okay, so it's really important today that we think about what order our events are going in, so that our diary entry makes sense. Okay, so just bearing that in mind. Wonderful. So, like I've already shown you, here is our plan. Now, I think I might change this slightly just because I've just noticed I haven't changed where it says introduction. So that's going to be event 1, event 2, and event 3. So on your copy, it will be right. Okay, so together we are going to fill in the bits of this plan. So we're going to start from the beginning, which is our colloquial intro. And this is basically just an informal introduction to your diary. Now, over here, we have got lots of different examples that you could use if you wanted to. Now you could, for example, take one of these examples. Oh, I've just said example a lot of times. You could take one of these examples and you could maybe change it a little bit as well to kind of fit your diary. Okay, so in your colloquial intro box, you need to write one of these examples, or you can write your own, or you can write a slightly adapted version of it. So I'm just going to pause so I can put my visualizer onto my plan. Wonderful. So here we go. I've got my plan all ready to fill in. Like I said, you could just draw it out on paper if you want to. Oops, I've got my wire in the way. How do I get rid of that? There we go. So colloquial intro then, I'm thinking, which one do I want to use for my diary? Could I change a little bit? So I might go for this one at the top. I might change it a little bit. You won't believe what happened to me this week. I might add a little bit more actually to make it a bit longer. I might say, you won't believe what happened to me this week. Let me tell you. Okay, so I've got my colloquial intro. Oops, I'm not even on the right bit. There we go. Okay, and I've kind of used the examples on the screen to help me, but then I've also kind of added my own little bit. So you can pause the video now and have a go at writing your own colloquial intro that you're going to kind of introduce your diary with, thinking from the perspective of Asha. Okay, wonderful. So we're going to move on then to event 1. Okay, I've put introduction, I need to change this, but yours will be event 1 because you're going to have 3 events. Okay, so I'm just going to actually cross this out so we all are clear on what we are doing. Okay, and the rule that we kind of came up with last time to make sure that our diary entry didn't turn too much into a story is that you are only allowed to use 2 bullet points to describe what happened for each kind of event. And that way you're not going to go off into lots of little details and it's not going to turn into a story. We're not wanting it to be a story, we're wanting it to be more about how Asha felt and kind of what she was thinking than kind of detailing every single little bit that happened. So I'm thinking about my first event. I've also got in front of me my flowchart. So I'm going to use that. I'm having a look. What was my first event? Well, it was sneaking onto the train. And what 2 bullet points do I want to talk about for this event? Well, I'm going to have them actually sneaking onto the train. And then thinking about kind of where I want my diary entry to go. I want to kind of tell the reader a little bit more because I've told them we've snuck on and we've kind of got past the guard. But now I want to tell them eventually, because the guard threw them off at Gallipore. Guard found us. Okay, so I've got my 2 bullet points for my event. Okay, you should not have any more than 2 bullet points because otherwise that tells me that you'll be going into too much detail. After you've done your event, we're now going to move on to our thoughts and our feelings. Now, this should be quite easy because we should have already done this. Okay, so I am ready then with to look at my thoughts and my feelings now. Now, my feelings are going to be basically kind of what we have already looked at with our emotion vocabulary. So our emotion adjectives and also our show me, don't tell me. So I've just written in my feelings box, uneasy, relieved, and pounding in our chests, eased. Because as they realised that they'd kind of got away with sneaking onto the train, they started to feel a bit more relaxed. Okay, in my thoughts, I'm going to use a rhetorical question or an exclamation. So, for example, I might go for, how lucky we were to not get caught. Okay, that's an exclamation sentence. It starts with how and it ends in an exclamation mark. Okay, so that's what Asha is thinking at the time. Wonderful. Have a go then for me now at your event 1. So you're using your plan. So whatever event that you've done for event 1 is going to be what's going to go in this box here. And you're just going to break it down into 2 bullet points. Think about your emotive language, which you should have already planned. And also write down a rhetorical question or an exclamation mark here to help you. Wonderful. So what you're going to do now then, you have got 2 more events to write about. However, you've got 1 extra box to fill in for your next event, and these are on my arrows and they are showing me my shift in time. Okay, so for example, this is going to be a fronted adverbial from what we did in yesterday's lesson, isn't it? Because we talked about yesterday how we can use a fronted adverbial to show that some time has passed. Now, I did a few examples yesterday, so I'm going to think of one of those. And I'm shifting time, so I've snuck onto the train, and now I've got my encounter with a tiger. Okay, so it's probably not going to be the same day. I don't think that would all happen in one day. Maybe I can go for the following day. Okay, or you could go for something like after days of traveling. Okay, I've got 2 fronted adverbials there. I don't need to use 2, but because they wouldn't make sense on their own, but I've got 2 options there for when I'm writing my diary entry. Then I'm going to write 2 bullet points for event 1. I'm going to think about my thoughts and my feelings. Remember, this is either going to be a rhetorical question or an exclamation sentence. And your feelings is just going to be what you've already done for Wednesday's lesson when you did your flow chart. Okay, so you've got to do event 2 with your shift in time. Then you're going to do your thoughts and your feelings. Then you're going to do a second shift in time to show that some more time has passed. So you're going to use a fronted adverbial there. And then you're going to do exactly the same for event 3. Okay, so once you have finished your next 2 events, you can come back and we're going to look at this together, our colloquial ending or our sign off for our diary. Okay, so have a go at that for me now, please, and then come back when you're ready. Wonderful, right, hopefully then you have filled in all of your sheet now apart from this box here, which is our colloquial ending. And this just kind of means that it's an informal sign off of our diary. So we've got some examples on the board here, on the slide here. So for example, you have got, oh, I'm just going to pause just so I can turn my sound off. Okay, so for example, you have got different examples here for your informal ending. Now it's up to you what you think. What do you think Asha would say? I'm going to go for hopefully update you soon. Full stop. Asha. Full stop. Okay, so I've used my I've used some examples off the slide, but I have kind of changed it a little bit to work for me as well. So you can either use an example or you can change it or do your own. Okay, so that's going to be your colloquial ending and your sign off for your diary entry. Wonderful. So I'm just going to stop sharing. Wonderful, so that's going to be everything for today. Hopefully you now have your completed plan. Keep hold of this because we're going to be using this on Monday when we come to write our diary entry, which should be super duper easy peasy because we've already got all of our ideas and a lot of our vocabulary here. Okay, have a lovely, lovely weekend and I will see you next week. Goodbye.